Welcome in to the next edition of Holland Pigskins. Ashton is back from being sick, dying, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm Dylan Hildreth, and today we got the top 10 games we're looking forward to this year, plus coaches on the hot seat. Ashton, we'll start with you. Who is your number one coach on the hot seat right now?
I have Ryan Day. I mean, after like the two losses to Michigan and all that in 2 years, I don't think he can afford another loss to them. It's a
I,
must-win game.
Michigan is the be all end all for Ohio State, and Michigan is the same with Ohio State. If you cannot beat, if you cannot beat the other, you don't need to be there. And
Yeah.
he is actually my coach. That's pretty much number one on the hot seat because I think he's going in. He's going to be going into both Notre Dame and Michigan handicapped with the quarterback. As I said, as I said numerous times, I I don't like where that quarterback room is for Ohio State. Kyle McCord did not impress me in the spring game, and we haven't seen anything of the freshman. I think it's uh, Ty Brown or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Um, so if that freshman is as good as their last freshman, C.J. Stroud, they got a fighting chance. But going to Notre Dame, their first big road game, their first actual test with either Kyle McCord, who again did not look comfortable in the spring game. The third stringer that they got looked more comfortable than what McCord did. Now, my number two coach on the hot seat, I think, is Steve Sarkisian from Texas.
Yeah.
He he had some personal demons that got him fired from USC, and now he's got this big opportunity at Texas, and they did okay in year two of Steve Sarkisian, but that loss to Kansas, that's still
Yeah.
glaring. That is something you just simply cannot do. And I and the Arch Manning pickup, I think gives him a little bit of a reprieve,
Yeah.
but there's a reason why he's dubbed 7-win Stark. And the fact that you have Oklahoma just completely a mess right now and you're still not able to make the Big 12 championship game, that's a problem. Sark is my number two on the hot seat.
My number two kind of goes along with that. I have Nick Saban. I mean, like from the past, how they were such a dominant force, and just that last year, I like they could have made the playoffs, which I have. I mean, I can understand that, but I think he needs to have a dominant year.
Saban's not getting fired.
Well, yeah, but I think he has pressure on him.
No, there's zero pressure on Nick Saban. He can go 0-12, not get fired. He's not going to go 0-12, but I
Yeah,
mean, 7 national titles gives you quite a bit of leeway,
yeah,
especially given the fact that they were one play away from being in the SEC championship game. Now, my I got one more, and this and I think unless he has a unbelievable year, I think he's going to get the axe, and that is Billy Napier down in Florida. He's in
all right,
serious trouble. Now they did have a influx of recruits come in at the twilight hour, but you're relying on someone who should be a junior in high school to be quarterback, or Graham Mertz, who has been absolutely awful at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And given that the SEC East is as deep as it is, with Tennessee being good, Georgia being the two-time defending national champions, South Carolina's got lightning in a bottle with Shane Rat or Spencer Rattler. Kentucky, they got Devin Lowry, the transfer from NC State. I think Gainesville is going to be a very unhappy place come fall because they're going to be fighting to stay out of the cellar with Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And I think Vanderbilt and especially coming off that loss to Vanderbilt from last year and then getting beat by I believe it was UCF in the bowl game.
Yeah.
It was one of the directional schools in Florida, but nonetheless, there is the that that chair in Gainesville. It's not hot; it's on fire.
Yeah.
You got another or
Yeah, I got one more. I had Neil Brown from West Virginia. He's been there 4 years, three with losing seasons. I just think he has one more losing season. He's out of there.
yeah yeah. I mean, what there's not high expectations at West Virginia, but no matter where you're at, make a bowl game, and you're
Yeah.
not doing that with losing seasons, especially with
No.
where with what West Virginia could be. So now we move into the top 10 games we're looking forward to in the 2023
Yeah.
season. What do you got for number 10?
My number 10 is Baylor versus Utah week 2.
Oh, the Holy War. I dig it.
Yeah.
That that game brought that game has brought one of the greatest memories of college football with Utah storming the field like 3 times. It was it was insane. But so my number 10, one of my second favorite rivalry in college football. Army Navy. The triple option, the pageantry around that game. I absolutely love that game, that rivalry, and what that brings. I don't know if it's in. I isn't. I think it's in Philly again this year. But you're number 8 or
My
nine,
number
9.
9. Yeah. I had Utah versus Washington week 10. I think it's gonna be a great game.
Yeah, we got Washington has a lot of production coming back. Utah is as good as anybody,
Yeah.
but I have Michigan at Nebraska. You
All
have
right.
I think this could be a real coming out game for Matt Rule, and it's in a very particular spot for Michigan that you could very well see. It's a bit of a trap game, I should say. Let me bring up the schedule, because those trap games are they hit Michigan pretty hard. Look at Illinois last year, nearly upset Michigan
Yeah.
in Ann Arbor, and now you got Nebraska, and it's early on in the year. That, like I said, a big statement game for Matt Rule and Nebraska. Rule has turned around much worse situations than what he's dealing with in Nebraska. And also, what has kind of gone under the radar is Matt Rule potentially opens up that pipeline back down to Texas that a lot of the previous coaches have not been able to do. And so, Michigan at Nebraska could be an upset weekend. You're
I mean,
number
I
8.
think so. My
You're number
number
8.
8. Yep. I had Michigan at Penn State week 11. Um, like you were saying, I could see a possible upset there. Michigan. I
Uh,
mean,
on
Just
the road, potential
yeah,
whiteout. It's going to at least be a whiteout environment.
yeah. It's gonna be crazy.
So my number 8 is a tied vengeance game. Tennessee, Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Can Josh Heupel bring an encore? Bring back the encore. You're gonna have Joe Milton under center. He's got a cannon, but can he hit the broadside of a barn? And in that game, we'll get our answer. But is it going to be the answer Tennessee's looking for? So your number your number
Seven,
six.
6. All right. My number 6 is Tennessee at Alabama too. I just think it's gonna be fireworks.
Uh, um I don't know if it's going to be fireworks. I don't if it turns into a high scoring game, then it's going to be Tennessee's game. But Alabama's going to have to make that game a slow, painful game in order for them to win, because I don't think they're going to be able to go blow for blow with Tennessee again. Bryce Young's gone. That quarterback situation is ugly at the least. I mean, you're not going to go
Hmm.
after Tyler Buchner because you got a good quarterback room. Or
Yeah.
yeah, that's his name, right? Buchner,
Yeah.
Tyler Buchner.
Yep. Out of Notre Dame.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
my my number 7 is Georgia at Tennessee.
All
That
right.
is that's the one true road game for Georgia in Neyland. Again, it's going to be another answer of can Joe Milton be the guy that he was expected to be as a 5-star recruit at Michigan? And this one, it's going to be, I think it could go either way. I think Georgia's going to want to keep the game slow,
Yeah.
but if it ends up going quick, I think Carson Beck is going to be able to keep up.
All right.
Did we skip your number 7?
I think so.
Okay. What was your
Yeah.
number 7?
My number 7 was Tennessee versus Florida.
Tennessee's going to stomp them.
Yeah. But league game, you
I mean,
and
you got the powerful brands of Florida and Tennessee, but other than that, Tennessee's going to stomp them. My my number 6, Utah at USC. Vengeance game potentially for Lincoln Riley, but again, the most underrated coach in all of college football is Kyle Whittingham up in Utah. It's everybody always overlooks Utah. I don't know why at this point, but this is Lincoln Riley's last shot at a Big Ten style school before he goes to the Big Ten.
yeah.
Utah's tough on defense. Now they're a little bit more explosive offensively than a Big Ten style school, but that defense that Utah has, very Big Ten esque. And if if I want to feel good about USC, I got to see them win against Utah, which Lincoln Riley has not done yet. So you're number 5.
I I had USC versus Oregon, which also could be a big test for USC.
Yeah, Dan Lanning at Oregon has really made that program. I think he's leveled the program a little bit to where it's actually reliable on defense again, and it's not
Yeah.
just the Kayvon Thibodeau or the Deion Johnson or whoever, that one pass rusher to try to make it work. And You also have Bo Nix coming back. It's going to be a really solid test for USC, but do they pass it? Who knows?
Yeah.
My my number 5, and this is kind of a look into the future kind of game. This is going to tell us who's who. The a contender pretender game. And that is Ohio State at Notre Dame.
Uh,
We're going to see, can Marcus Freeman keep up with some of the best in college football? Has Ryan Day found an answer under center? And can Ohio State get back to the Urban Meyer years of being able to return fire after getting clocked in the mouth? They Notre Dame did a really good job of containing the offense and containing CJ Stroud. Now you don't have CJ Stroud to contain. You're going to have somebody with much less experience. Plus, you're not in the horseshoe this time.
yeah.
The Irish Eyes could very well be smiling in South Bend, week 4, I believe.
I sure hope so.
You're number 4.
My number 4. I really like the past. I think 2 years it's been that these games have reduced. I like at my number 4 spot Notre Dame versus Clemson. I know it's at Clemson, but I think Notre Dame can hold their own.
We'll certainly find out.
Yeah,
Clemson with Cade Klubnik. It's going to be a test to see, is he the next Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Taj Boyd, or is he a Kelly Bryant? Yeah, Kelly Bryant, or
yeah.
the quarterback that he finally got benched. And I I would love to see. I can't wait to see the full year of Clemson with Cade Klubnik, because I'm really high on this kid. I like him, and I'm interested to see where they go with him. But my number 4, it is Clemson in Death Valley against the Seminoles. And I touched on this last week. This game is going to determine what a lot of the Power 5 and Group of 5 schools that are struggling on how they attack the recruiting and the transfer portal. Because both these teams are built so differently. Florida State, built through the transfer portal. They were able to be revived through the transfer portal, while Dabo Sweeney has pretty much shunned the transfer portal and has stayed to traditional recruiting and development. And this game will decide what a lot of college teams are going to be doing moving forward on how they attack the offseason and player transactions. So we are in the top 3.
Yeah.
What do you got for number 3?
Number 3, I just think this game's going to be exciting. I had Georgia at Tennessee,
Yeah.
like you were talking about.
Yeah. Georgia actually getting a road test here under
Yeah,
those Neyland lights. I'd be surprised if it wasn't the night game, but and
yeah,
it, it it's going to be, this whole season for Tennessee is going to be about, can they return with an encore? Are they here to stay? Are they for real? Anybody can catch lightning in a bottle for a year. Can you do it with the expectations along with replacing your quarterback? That's going to be the big question. And that is going to be, that's, as I said, that's the big question. Does Josh Heupel have staying power? And that game, everything's lined up for Tennessee to pull off the upset. The big game feel, you have, granted, both in-state rivals the next week, not nearly as powerful as Tennessee's going to see with Georgia and Georgia, Tennessee. But there is that little bit of a trap game feel for Georgia because Georgia Tech isn't as a pushover as Vanderbilt. Georgia Tech, I think, is going to make a little ruckus in the ACC, and they might just be big enough to turn this big game that could be a 10-0, 10-0 Tennessee Georgia into a trap game, or the big game after letdown from Georgia, Tennessee, for really both of them. But it just depends on which way how this game turns out. Now, in my infinite wisdom, I incidentally put Ohio State Notre Dame at 3 and 5.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that game. But number 3, I'm actually going to I'm going to have Texas at Alabama. And it's not going to be so much
All
of
right.
a can Texas win? At least not yet. But can Texas keep this game close? It's not really a must win for Texas in order for Sarkisian to stay safe in his job. But it is you better keep it close. Don't get embarrassed.
Yeah.
Especially given what happened last year with Alabama and Texas and only losing by, I think it was a 22-21 game. I could be
Yeah.
wrong, though.
I know it's close.
It was very close for a very long
Yeah.
time. And this time it's in Tuscaloosa. Can Sarkisian keep it close? Now, when it comes to prediction time, we'll make those predictions. But I think it's going to be a very tight. I think it's going to be a tight game. It needs to be a tight game for Sarkisian. If he gets embarrassed, that seat's going to get real hot. Because
Yeah.
I don't think Oklahoma is going to be as bad as they were last year. I think last year was a flash in the pan. Oklahoma not only having to replace a head coach like Lincoln Riley, but having to replace everybody that left with him. So,
Yeah.
your number 2 game you're looking forward to?
This one, with me being a Notre Dame fan, and of course everyone around me being an Ohio State fan, I can't wait for this game. I think it's gonna be great. Great test for both teams.
Everything is there. Everything is set up for Notre Dame to pull off this upset.
Yeah.
They just got to put it together now. They kept it very close in Columbus. Now they got a shot on their turf with a Buckeye team that I think that is not as good as what it was last year.
No.
So everything's there. You even have the better quarterback going into this game in Sam Hartman. This is the show me game. Can Marcus Freeman keep up with some of the best in college football in Ryan Day? Which is kind of weird because we both have Ryan Day as the guy on the hottest seat in college football.
Yeah.
But it's all gonna. This is the show me game for Marcus Freeman. Can he keep up with Ryan Day? And everything and it is in his favor right in this particular game. Quarterback, home field advantage. He's got to execute. This is a must win for Marcus Freeman and to put Notre Dame on this map. My number 2, another Bama Vengeance game. This time it's in Tuscaloosa. LSU, Alabama.
Yeah.
Now, and this may very well be the first game in God knows how long where Alabama is the underdog at home.
Mm-hmm.
LSU has the better quarterback coming back. Brian Kelly beat him last year. LSU is just as good as they didn't really lose a whole lot last year. They got probably the best defensive player coming back in Harold Perkins, the linebacker. If if Brian Kelly can go 2-0 against Nick Saban with this LSU team, it's going to be a real changing of the guard in the SEC. And this is the de facto SEC West championship game. So we it'll be interesting to see. Can Brian Kelly live up to the hype and now the expectation of actually beating Alabama? It was a shocker last year. It ain't going to be a shocker this year. It's going to be an
Yeah.
expectation. So, your number one game you are looking forward to this year, Ashton, what is it?
Ohio State versus Michigan.
Me too. All the obvious reasons on why the greatest rivalry in college football. I even have I even have a podcast that's completely centered around it. Ohio State, Michigan in Ann Arbor. Ryan Day's job is on the line. For all intents and purposes, it's on the line. Everything rides on this game. Can Ryan Day beat Michigan in Ann Arbor with what we believe is the lesser team right now? Can Ryan Day do what Jim Harbaugh did 2 years ago? Except this time he doesn't have the home field advantage Jim Harbaugh had 2 years ago. He's going in the hostile environment. Now, people are going to say, and I've heard it from a couple people, oh, Ohio State was just built to be more competitive with SEC teams, not so much Michigan. No,
Yeah.
that is completely false. The actual reality of the situation at Ohio State is they have gotten very, very soft, especially on that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And in the you saw it 2 years ago, and then you saw it late in the game. They held strong for about 3 quarters, and then it all came crumbling down. Now, can Ohio State put 4 quarters together on defense to stop the run game? And can they get enough push on the offensive side of the ball to be able to run the ball? When you have running backs like Mayan Williams, Trayvon Henderson, Dallin Hayden, you should not be struggling as bad as you are running the football unless you have a very, very soft offensive line. And that's what Ohio State's dealing with, and that does not get fixed overnight. That needs to be addressed. Wasn't addressed well enough last year. Can it be addressed well enough this year? And it's the de facto Big Ten championship game. The week after is just a formality. Unless Brett Bielema in Champaign, that Illinois team is the ultimate wild card in the Big Ten. Can Illinois make those waves? Brett Bielema, he's got a couple Big Ten title game championships under his belt. He knows how to win the Big Ten. Granted, it didn't go too well in the SEC for him, but he is back, and he's built a very powerful program in Champaign. Now, the other two X factors, I think Luke Fickell can make waves right off the cuff in Madison. Matt Rule, I think he's got one punch in him, and that's going to be against Michigan. But because Nebraska has just been so down for so long, it's going to take a year or two to rebuild that program. Wisconsin's been stuttering, but I think they're still a good program. Madison is still one of the toughest places to play. And can can one of those teams in the West make some waves and make the Big Ten championship game something other than a formality? Of course, you wouldn't know anything about conferences because you're a Notre Dame fan, but you know.
Nah,
So you got any parting words of wisdom before we officially sign off here?
nope. I'm just can't wait for this season.
It's gonna be a fun season. Um,
Yep.
especially in the Big Ten and the SEC and the Pac-12,
Yeah.
which which I'm I'm waiting to see it all crumble because it's going to crumble. I Now whether they fall to a G5, I don't know, but I think it's only a matter of time before Oregon, Washington, they they tuck tail and go to the Big Ten, and that's going to force Utah to do something. Whether it's going to the Big 12, I don't think they're going to go to the Big 10. I don't think that's a market. Big Ten's been more market oriented in their expansion. So I think I think it's only a matter of time before Oregon and Washington are in the Big Ten, and then I could very well see uh the Big Ten come 2036 when the ACC deal expires. I could see Notre Dame and Miami going to the Big Ten because Florida State and Clemson, they're going to the SEC.
Mhm.
That's going to happen, and then it's going to be interesting to see what the rest of the ACC does because there are high quality programs in the ACC that aren't getting talked about as far as expansion. North Carolina Duke, best basketball rivalry in college sports. They're not going to separate. They're going to go together, either Big Ten, SEC. Personally, I'd like to see them go to the Big Ten because the basketball in the Big Ten is a little bit better historically.
Yeah.
And then Florida State, Clemson, they're going to the SEC. There's no question on that. Georgia Tech, that's going to be interesting to see what they do because I think by 2030, whatever, I think they'll be a good enough program to be a viable spot for either the SEC or Big Ten. So, and I think one thing that we've forgotten to talk about is the actual college football playoff expansion.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on the 12 team expansion?
Um, I'm kind of half on it. I do like the concept of more games in college football. I like it, but there's going to be some teams that I don't think will be like deserving of a playoff run.
Yeah,
But what can you do?
yeah, I think we, we kind of need that. I would have a 14 playoff still, but have those four decided after bowl season.
Yeah,
That way, you get that one more big marquee game that to put the exclamation point on the resume. Every bowl game still matters, and you're only adding one game. Whereas potentially you're adding two games in this 12 team format, I believe,
yeah,
for the 5 through 12. And the bowl season allows for all these bowls to mean something, especially the New Year Six. And you're not messing with the traditions of the New Year Six, other than the Pac-12 getting absolutely demolished, and now the Rose Bowl is pretty much a free for all on that side of the aisle.
yeah,
But the but to still have the actual games in their proper slots, like the Rose Bowl, 5 p.m. Eastern on New Year's Day, with the Sugar Bowl at right after, and then the Cotton Bowl or Citrus Bowl at noon, and then the Orange Bowl on New Year's Eve, uh along with the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
I, I think having a 14 playoff, but have that four decided after bowl season is the best way to go. The
Yeah.
This 12 team playoff with six automatic qualifiers as conference champions, not I'm not a big fan of it
Mm.
because that's going to open the door for a potential MAC team to skate into the playoffs to go and play a Alabama who gotten at large. I don't know about
Yeah.
you, but I'm not too interested in Alabama Toledo.
Yeah, it's complete blowout.
I, I I'm not too interested in a Tennessee versus San Diego State. I'm just
Yeah.
not. I want to see Ohio State, Alabama. I want to see Michigan, Georgia. I want to see a Georgia, Alabama part 3.
Yeah.
I I I want to see you. I want to see these blue bloods go at the and people say that, oh, I root for the underdog. Yeah, you rooted for the underdog, and we got 62-7 in the national championship game last year. Everybody and their cousin knew as soon as that Michigan TCU game ended, that the national championship was going to get decided in Atlanta between Ohio State and Georgia. And granted, I thought that Georgia was going to steamroll Ohio State. I was wrong. It took several years off my life, but nobody wants to see a 62-7 national championship game.
Yeah.
And nobody everybody wants to see that Texas USC. They want to see Georgia Alabama. They want to see that they want to see the blue bloods, the heavyweights go at it. Not really interested in Bowling Green going up against Ohio State.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't I don't want to see a non-conference schedule be in the playoff. The non-conference cupcake. Big Ten and SEC have enough of those.
mm-hmm.
Now, I saw an interesting stat of the Power Fives and who's playing 10 plus Power Five schools. Uh, the Big Ten, ACC, Pac-12, and Big 12, they have like pretty much everybody's playing 10 plus Power Five schools except for maybe one or two schools per conference. The
Yeah.
SEC, the SEC only has two teams that are playing 10 plus Power Five schools.
That
I I'm tired of the SEC schedule is tough.
yeah, so hard.
Yeah, it is tough, but so is going to Kinnick. So is going to Camp Randall. So is going to uh so is going down to LA to play USC. So is going to Utah, Berkeley to play the Golden Bears. Road games are hard. They're supposed to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's and I would say still to this day, the toughest place to play in all of college football is Kinnick Stadium, is in Iowa. Not many people go into Kinnick and leave winners. You can ask Ohio State and Michigan. One coach has a winning record against Bo and Woody, and that is Charlie Fry of Iowa. Because that Kinnick, very tough place to play. It derailed Ohio State season before. It's derailed Michigan season. And you just don't have that type of energy in Kinnick that you do in the SEC. Now, it's a different kind of
Yeah.
energy at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge, which I would say Baton Rouge and Athens are the two toughest places to play in the SEC. Now, Mississippi State's the most annoying because of those damn cowbells, but but the the most underrated, toughest places to play is Kinnick and Camp Randall, and the and the SEC saying, "Oh, we can't play 9 games. That's too tough." Well, I'm old enough to remember in 2020 when you guys played 12 conference games. I think it was 12. I think they played a full schedule. Or
um
it might have been 10.
10, yeah.
Still, but
I think
still, you played a 10-game conference schedule. And you had, in my opinion, the greatest college football team ever assembled in the 2020 Alabama Crimson Tide. Went undefeated and
yeah.
virtually unmatched, other than no, they stomped LSU too. They stomped LSU, they stomped Georgia. Their toughest test was Florida with Kyle Trask. They didn't have any issues going through the SEC. So don't give me this, oh, playing 9 games is too tough. Well, stop playing the Citadel in November. Because ever since Nick Saban has gotten to Alabama, they have played a group of 5 or less in November every single year, except for 2020. They have always played
Er,
a group of 5 or FCS school in late November, right before Auburn. And that's just simply unfair, especially to Auburn, who
yeah.
a lot of times they aren't playing a FCS or group of 5 school going into Alabama. They're playing Tennessee. They're playing Mississippi State, Ole Miss, somebody who's actually in the SEC.
Hmm.
But anyway, that's my rant. So anything else before we sign off?
No, I'm good.
All right. Make sure to like the
All
video,
right.
subscribe to the channel, and make sure to download the podcast. And we'll see you next time on Holler and Pigskins.